This is CBB Today, and we're back with another video. Today we're going to be recapping Week 7 of the AP poll. We're going to go through the top 10 teams, what changed, what stayed the same, what I agree with, what I might disagree with, and yeah, we'll hop straight into it. So at number 1, Arizona, second week in a row being at 1. I'm fine with this. This is going to be a little similar to last week's where, Arizona, they're starting to... I knew they were really good, right? We all knew they were really good, but the discussion was, are they on the same level as Michigan? I'm starting to think they are. Are they better than Michigan? I don't think so. I will not argue with you if you think they are better than Michigan. That's fine with me. They're both just been beating the crap out of every team they play. They went to Birmingham and beat Alabama by 21. It's going to be hard to move them off of the top overall team in the country when they're doing that. And they have Jaden Bradley and Koa Pete in foul trouble, and they have guys like Tobe Awaka and Braden Burry stepping up. Braden Burry's had 28 points. He dropped 5 threes for the Wildcats. He is a real X factor for them. Because a big question mark was their outside shooting. They're shooting from beyond the arc. If he can give them 2 or 3 threes a game, open up other guys to make more shots, it's like that is so dangerous for every team that plays Arizona. And it's like, their last 2, it's like you kill Auburn. Granted, that game was in Tucson, but then you go to Birmingham. And yes, it's neutral, but that game is in Alabama's backyard. And you destroy Alabama. Destroy them. Alabama played them tight in the first half, but they destroyed Alabama in the second half. And, when you're killing teams like this, you're not, the voters aren't going to move you down, right? Even as Michigan could go out there and beat teams by 50, until Arizona loses, they will be 1 in the AP poll, which I'm fine with. I am fine with. Again, they, in my opinion, far and away have the best resume in the sport. I don't think they are far and away the best team in the sport, which is fine. It's the AP rankings. At the end of the day, I said on Twitter when I was talking to some Iowa State fans, as long as you're a projected 1 seed in March, these AP rankings don't really matter. They don't, right? I get why you want to be the number 1 team in the country, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything. So Arizona at 1, we're fine with that. At 2, Michigan, they stay at 2. 1 through 6 stayed the same from last week to this week, which I agree with. I completely agree with. We'll still go through every team. So Michigan at 2, they beat Maryland by 18 at Maryland, and they beat Villanova by 28 in Ann Arbor. Yeah, they are just killing. They're destroying teams. Everyone they play, they're destroying. Maryland played them close for a bit. Maryland was winning that game with about 15 minutes left, and then Yaxel Endeborg said, I am one of the best players in the country, and he showed it. He had 29 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds. By far his best game as a Wolverine, and he really showed why he would have been a first-round pick this past year and why he was so sought after in the portal. Yaxel Endeborg is that guy. He's a gamer. He is going to be the engine that makes Michigan run. Like I said, Michigan is a well-oiled machine. They are as much as a well-oiled machine as there is in the sport. Or Arizona is as well. But it really reminds me of Dan Hurley's UConn teams that went back-to-back. It reminds me so much of that. Michigan at 2, I'm still sticking to it. I think they're the best team in the sport. I think a lot of people think that. And I'm okay with having them at 2, just because of resume, okay? Because I think there's 5 or 6 teams that have 4+ quad 1 wins. Michigan's not one of them. If they had the schedule, yeah, they would have. They'd probably have 5 or 6 quad 1 wins. But they just don't, and that's fine, because they will rack them up in Big Ten play. I don't think anyone's doubting that. We'll move on. At 3, Duke. They have not played since Michigan State. That's why I'm fine with them sticking at 3. If you put them at 4 and Iowa State at 3, I'm fine with that as well, just because Iowa State did get a nice win. But yeah, they play Texas Tech at the Garden on December 20th. That game's going to be a lot of fun. Texas Tech, although they've lost some big games, they just lost to Arkansas. They lost to Purdue, Illinois. They're really good. They showed against Arkansas, they're really good. There's just question marks about them with, obviously, you have JT Toppin, which that matchup against Cam Boozer will be insane. That will be so fun. 2 of the best bigs in the country. And then Christian Anderson is just, he can distribute the ball. He's a great shot maker. When he's on, he's on. And I don't think anyone's going to deny that. So that game will be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see Caleb Foster match up against Christian Anderson, because Caleb Foster did a good job. I said before the Michigan State game, no one's going to ask you to stop Jeremy Fears. but contain him. Like, just, they're not going to ask him to score 15 points on offense, but play good defense, play a good point guard position, and that's all Shire wants out of you. So yeah, Duke at 3, we're fine with that. And then Iowa State at 4, they were at 4 last week. Like I said, 1 through 6 stayed the same. They beat Iowa at home. I mean, they looked a little shaky to start, and then they looked like Iowa State. Like, Josh Jefferson is going to be, as long as something terrible doesn't happen, he will probably be a first-team All-American. He is one of the best players in the country. I'm glad people are starting to recognize it, because I feel like going into the year, he wasn't talked that much like one of the best players in the country, and that has something to do with the great freshman class, all the great, upperclassmen we have. But Josh Jefferson is so good, and then obviously you have Lipsy, you have Momcilovic, Blake Buchanan, Heisey, and Killian Torre is a menace. Shout out Ryan Hammer. He compared him to Davion Mitchell. I think that's such a great comparison. Like, so great. Killian Torre is so good. I just love watching this Iowa State team. I think everyone does, as long as you're not like an Iowa fan. The Cyclones are fun. The top of the Big 12 is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, this is, this team is good. And the top 4 stay the same, and I think they will stay the same for, until one of them loses or has a bad loss. I think they will just stay as the top 4 teams in the country. Moving on to 5, UConn. They were 5 last week. They beat Texas Friday night in Hartford. I think they won by 8. The game wasn't really as close as the final score showed. They had a 10, 15-point lead. Yeah, I mean, it's UConn. We talked about them a lot. Obviously, Caravan, he had 18 points. Braylon Mullins had 10 on 4 for 7 shooting. This was his first game starting in his collegiate career, and he made some professional level shots. Like, he is good. And I think I said it on Twitter, I think he's better than Liam McNeely was last year, and they're different, but Braylon Mullins he's a shot maker. He takes and makes these shots where I'm like, he goes up to take it, I'm like, oh my god, and then he just drills it. I'm like, all right, this is why he's a projected lottery pick. Yeah, I'm fine with the Huskies at 5. I trust Dan Hurley, I trust UConn. The only thing that worries me with them is in conference play, they're not gonna, obviously the Big East is kind of weak this year, a lot weaker than they've been in years past. They're probably gonna have to they're going to have to win every game besides a 2 maybe if they want to jump up to the 1 line. Just because, yes, they have a good resume as of now, but these other teams at the top are going to have a lot of good opportunities to move past them in conference play, and UConn's just not going to have that. They're going to have to win both games against St. John's. You're going to have to sweep Villanova, sweep Creighton, sweep Marquette. It's... I don't know. I mean, whether they're a 1 or 2 seed out east, it doesn't really matter. Their fans will travel. They're fine. And them at 5 is fine. That is more than fine. Whenever you can say you're a top 5 team in the country, I think you're happy. We'll move on to 6. This is the last of the top 6 that stayed the same. We have Purdue. They pummeled Minnesota 85-57 on Wednesday, and then they played Marquette on Saturday. They got off to kind of a slow start. They were up a couple points at half, and then they just came out in the second half firing. They went on a crazy run. I don't know what Matt Painter said to them, but yeah, I said it earlier in the week. It seems like Purdue's almost becoming a little underrated after they got destroyed by Iowa State. I think Purdue is still more than capable of winning the national championship, and the Final Four runs through Indianapolis, an hour away from West Lafayette. So you don't want to see Purdue late in March Madness. With their experience, obviously TKR, Braden Smith, and Fletcher Loyer were all there when they lost to FDU. They were all there when they made it to the national championship, and they were playing. These guys have experience, and they lost a bad game to Iowa State. That's not going to really, like I said, Iowa State's really good, and so is Purdue. So there's just a lot of good teams this year at the top, so that's why they're all the way down I say all the way down at 6, but Purdue, I think, yeah, they're fine. So yeah, no movement in the top 6 teams. The first change we've had, Gonzaga moves up a spot to 7. They beat UCLA in Seattle. I think they won 82-72. That was the last big game of Saturday's slate. It was a nice nightcap to watch. Graham Ike had 25, 5, and 5. Braden Huff had 21 and 4. Yeah, I think Gonzaga's done enough in their non-conference to be a top 2 seed in March, which I think is the goal to be at this point. Obviously, they want to be the 1 seed out west. If they can be the 2 seed out west, I think Mark Few's thrilled. I think it might just be tough to get Arizona off that 1 line out west, that's valid. So, yeah, I was saying it. I was wondering, Kentucky played Indiana and Gonzaga played UCLA, and I know it sounds crazy, but I was wondering which game was more of a must-win, Gonzaga over UCLA or Kentucky over Indiana. Obviously, for Kentucky, it was like they haven't beat anyone, so you need to win that game, but also they're going to have a lot of opportunities in SEC play to get quad 1 wins. Gonzaga isn't. So if Gonzaga were to lose to UCLA, them being a top 2 seed, suddenly it's like you probably have to run the table in the West Coast Conference. Winning that game against UCLA, getting another good victory, quad 1 win, will do wonders. Like I said, I think they've done enough to be a top 2 seed out west. We'll move on to number 8. We have Houston. They flip-flopped with Gonzaga. They didn't do anything wrong, but they played New Orleans and Jackson State. Granted, New Orleans did beat TCU earlier in the year, but it's not like no one's really looking at that win. They have a big game against Arkansas in New Jersey on Saturday. I will be at that game. I am covering that game, so that will be a lot of fun. The guard matchup in that, it's insane. It's one of the best. It's probably for games that I will be in attendance for. It's the best group of guards I'll ever see. Obviously for Houston, you have Kingston Flemings, you have Milo Zuzan, you have Emmanuel Sharp, and then for Arkansas, it's just guards galore. DJ Wagner starting. Darius Acuff looks like one of the best playmakers in the SEC. He looks like he's going to be the SEC Freshman of the Year. And then Malik Thomas off the bench. You have the wings of Carter Knox. And then down low, Billy Richmond is just such a good piece to have. He's an energy guy. He'll make the dirty plays. Not dirty like that, but he'll do the dirty work. Yeah, Trayvon Brazile had probably his best game of the season against Texas Tech. He was knocking down threes, making big plays. So yeah, this Houston-Arkansas game is going to be fun. Arkansas is ranked 14th. I would have liked to see them ranked a little higher, but like I said, the AP poll doesn't really matter. Arkansas can make a run in the SEC this year. They really can. Especially, it looks a little wide open. I'd say Bama's the favorite right now, but it looks like anyone can really make a run in that conference. So yeah, I'm fine with Houston at 8. They just didn't really play anyone to stay on that 7 line or in that 7 spot when Gonzaga did beat UCLA. So we'll move on to 9. We have Michigan State. They snuck out of Penn State with a win. They looked like they were having trouble, but they looked like they were maybe going to drop a bad game to a not great Penn State team. But we've said it's hard to win on the road in college basketball. We know that. Everyone knows that. The fact that they won, come March, no one's going to care how they won. It's still a win. They stay the same at 9. They play, I think, Nebraska early on in January. Before that, they just play some mid-majors. I think they have Cornell, Toledo maybe. So I think they'll stay around that 9, 8, 10 range until January, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I'm fine with them at 9. And then to round out the top 10, we have BYU. Obviously, we all saw they had the electric win at the Garden over Clemson. That game was nuts, to say the least. It just shows how much college basketball is a game of runs. Clemson goes on that crazy run in the first half. They were leading by 21 at half, and then BYU just went nuclear in the second half. And then Rob Wright hits that game winner that people will talk about for years to come at the Garden. That's for Rob Wright, that's what you dream about as a kid, hitting a game-winning 3, a crazy shot at Madison Square Garden on national TV. You got to love that for BYU and Rob Wright. So I'm fine with them at 10. They stay the same. And then, yeah, Louisville and UNC just missed out on the top 10. I'm fine with them outside the top 10. I would have been fine with them at 9 or 10. It is what it is. Like I said, the AP poll rankings at the end of the day don't really matter. So we're fine with it. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys, can give me some feedback on what you guys think about if some team is ranked too high, if some team should be ranked higher. Let me know. So, yeah, we'll have new videos coming out every day this week, recapping, previewing, talking about March Madness, what to look for, all that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of the new videos. And I will see you guys next time. CBB Today. Peace.